Hello, everybody. I'm Connie Joe with Soul Navigation, and today I want to talk about the point in our charts, and especially in synastry, that blows us away. It blows our mind. It keeps us running back for more, and sometimes it breaks our heart. So you may have guessed I'm talking about the South Node, and in synastry, this usually indicates that you had a past life with this person. You feel connected. You feel comfortable. The first time you see this person, usually there's this, I know you feeling, or you look in their eyes and you feel like, oh my gosh, I recognize this soul. I know who this is. It can be absolutely astounding the way it makes you feel when you meet someone and your personal planet and their south node, or your south node and their personal planet makes a connection. It's mind blowing. It's almost your present life and your past lives collide, and everything, timelines seem to stop when we have this south node connection. So, what exactly is the south node? We have the lunar nodes of the moon, the south node and the north node, and they're exactly opposite in the zodiac. And the nodes stay in a sign around 18 months. So the house placement is really very important when it comes to our south node and our north node. But this represents past lives, if you believe in past lives, past karma. It's very karmic. It's what we already know, what we come into this world with, what comes easy to us. The south node feels easy because we know it, we recognize it. It's part of how we entered this world. But the North Node is a little bit harder. It's scary because we haven't been there yet. Like I said, this brings our past lives and our present life together. And the South Node is a point in our charts that we need to learn to get away from, not to rely on that South Node so much. Meredith has all kinds of videos on the South Node and the North Node, and I strongly advise you to go watch all of those videos. But this one is specifically about synastry and the South Node connecting with another person's personal planet in their chart. So synastry is putting two charts together to make a bi-wheel, and you can see how you get along or what your compatibility is with another person. And it doesn't always have to be romantic. This could be with friends, it could be with family, your children, even your pets. But this video is primarily about the romantic connection that we feel when one of our planets meets that south node. So we're going to go through all of the planets and see what that connection might have been and what it might be now, and maybe what the outcome could be when you have that synastry. And I also want to say that not only is there sometimes this I know you romantic attraction immediately when our south node meets another person's personal planets, but sometimes there's immediate dislike or even repulsion. You just feel like, oh, who is this person? I don't know who they are, but I don't want to know them. The fact is, you probably already knew them in a past life, and possibly things didn't go so well. And maybe that's why you feel that aggression or repulsion or immediate dislike toward that person. But no matter what, you ask the question, why do I feel like this? What is going on? Okay, before I start going through the planets, I just want to say one thing about aspects. So, the conjunction, or when the planets meet exactly at the same place, that is probably the strongest. But the other aspects, the trine and the sextile, they're harmonious aspects, and also the square and the opposition that are more challenging. All of these aspects count when it comes to the South Node and other planets in synastry, actually in synastry period, but we're really looking at the South Node today. So what happens when the South Node meets the Sun. I can tell you right now, this is a very difficult bond to break. There is this binding tie. It's like your soul paths are intertwined somehow. It's really amazing to me how fast you recognize someone when your South Node meets their Sun, or vice versa. So usually in this case, there are past life issues that need to be resolved. The attraction is strong though, and it's hard to pull away. And the danger is that you start falling back into old patterns. And this can happen with the Sun and with the South Node. But usually the Sun starts to feel drained. It's like their energy seems to be zapped just a bit by the South Node person. And this can go on for years. And I will admit, this is a connection that I have had with someone in my past. And it is totally this binding connection that you have that is strong and it's comfortable. And at first, it really feels good. But as the relationship goes on, sometimes you start falling back into those old patterns that you had maybe in a past life, because there's a very good chance that, your souls definitely met in a past life. And this could be in a romantic capacity or another capacity because it's the Sun, but it's the essence of your soul being intertwined together. So the one thing that you can do, and I didn't do this because I don't think I realized exactly what was going on at the time, but if you recognize that there was probably a past life together and both of you are committed to growth, there is a way to put the past life behind you for good and really move on. And this could actually end up being a really good relationship. But it comes with this little warning. When you meet someone and your Sun is conjunct their South Node or the other way around, be aware it's strong, it's hard to break, and it can be a bit heartbreaking. So let's talk about the moon. I'm telling you, when the moon connects with the South Node, it's almost primal because our moon holds all of our memories, past and present. So you better believe that your moon recognizes that South Node or the other way around. It is this comfortable, amazing, emotional connection that you find with somebody. And it's so instinctive. Your instincts tell you, I know them, and your emotions just scream for more. But you may start to fall into old emotional patterns with the moon and the South Node. That would be really easy to do. If you use this aspect to grow emotionally and to nurture each other, to bring yourself out of those old patterns. This takes vulnerability. You're going to have to be vulnerable to that other person and really work through your emotional baggage that you probably brought from a past life anyway. So, of course, this can work, but it does take dedication and some emotional sifting, emotional healing to really make this work. But the attraction at first is immediate, visceral, and intense. So, what about Mercury? So, it's not as intense and as binding as the Sun or the Moon, but Mercury's kind of fun. It's like you're meeting an old friend. Or when I see this in charts, and especially the conjunction, I usually feel like that the two people had a sibling relationship in a past life. So there's this kind of really cool bond that starts to happen when you meet someone that has their Mercury conjunct your South Node. And if there were unresolved karmic issues, they'll show up in your thought processes and they'll show up in your communication with each other. So there could at first could be really great communication and understanding. It's almost like you may feel like you can read each other's thoughts, or you could tell each other anything. The important thing is to keep the communication open and loving, understanding, and try not to fall back into old patterns of thinking or communicating. And if you can do that, this is actually a fun aspect in synastry to have. It not only feels very familiar, but like I said, it's almost like meeting an old friend that you knew all your life. Okay, so when the South Node meets Venus, it's magical. It is so magical and magnetic, and it feels so good. And you feel like you've met your soulmate forever. Truly, you do. But very quickly, old patterns may start to evolve because more than likely you were in love with this person in a past life and there were issues that were not resolved in a past life, and you came back in this lifetime to resolve those issues with this person. And so there could be a conflict in values. You may not have the same values or see the relationship quite the same way, and this can bring up fear and insecurity pretty quickly with Venus and the South Node. It What you need to decide, especially if you're listening to this astrology and you have your Venus and South Node together in a synastry chart, you decide this time we're going to do it differently. And you start to recognize the patterns that come out almost automatically, almost instinctively, and decide to make some changes in these patterns. And if you're able to do that and you can get on the same page regarding your values, this can be such a beautiful connection to have. So Mars is one of the more interesting aspects in synastry with the South Node because, man, it can be boom, super sexual attraction. You cannot get enough of this person, or there could be aggression and anger and even dislike. We can be attracted to somebody sometimes and then feel a little bit of dislike too. It's like makeup sex, maybe. But what probably happened was in a past life, you had a super sexual relationship with this person, or there was a sexual attraction, or possibly you were adversaries or you competed against each other in a past life. So the key to this one is to realize what's going on. And can you get past the feelings of anger or aggression that you may carry toward this person? Is the sexual relationship enough in the relationship to make it work, to keep this going? Like I said, Mars is really interesting and it can come out in many different ways. This is one of those times when you may meet someone and feel immediate repulsion. You can be repulsed and still be attracted at the same time. And that's one reason I really like this one. And I like to hear people's stories in the synastry chart. What's really going on with this Mars South Node thing? And that being said, if you would like to get a synastry reading with me or any reading, I would love to have a reading with you. Looking at compatibility is one of my favorite things to do, but I do progressions and natal charts and full astrology, all of that as well. And you can find my information to book a reading in the notes below, or you can go to soulnavigation.com. So that brings us to Jupiter. And I love Jupiter connecting with the South Node because usually in a past life, this indicated a teacher or mentor relationship. And it feels expansive and it feels abundant and like you can grow together. And there's a real possibility that you can, because more than likely, the relationship in a past life wasn't harmful or it wasn't bad, but there's still some kind of karma that you need to look at in this lifetime. So, really, in this combination, it's about not trying to change the other person, not trying to change what they believe. You don't have to necessarily be on the same page, but you should not try to change each other. But Jupiter in the South Node can bring this optimism to a relationship that's really beautiful, as long as you let each other be themselves, that you don't try to change what they value, what they believe in, what they're optimistic about. And and keep things on an equal level with this one. If you were a mentor, teacher, a student in a past life, in this lifetime, try to keep things a little bit more equal together. And this one can definitely work out, and it actually really feels good. So Saturn and the South Node. Now, this aspect sometimes shows up in the charts of a parent and a child, but it can also mean that possibly in a past life there was a parent-child relationship. And I believe that we come back or we reincarnate into soul families with the same people. We come back with them over and over again. So it's not too far fetched that you may have a love relationship with someone that in a past life was your parent or you were their child, but could go either way. The important thing is to not allow parenting dynamics in a romantic relationship to enter in where you feel like you have to mother them or he feels like he has to be the father. It's important to leave those aspects out of it. So there may be a real sense of responsibility with this aspect with Saturn. It's you may feel like this is a serious relationship from the very beginning. It's very binding. Saturn is a very karmic planet that you were supposed to be together, that it's just very serious. And I always say if there is no Saturn in a synastry chart, there's no glue. There's nothing to keep things together. In some cases, this could feel restrictive. It could feel stagnant, like you're not really growing, but that's not always the case. A lot of the times, it's simply about how serious you feel about the other person and how badly you want the relationship to work. And guess what? It can. But very likely there was a past life relationship that there was a parenting child dynamic. And there could be other dynamics as well. We don't know exactly our past lives, but I have talked to many people that have this aspect that feel that parenting vibe going on with this aspect. So before I get into the outer planets, I do want to say this that these are generational planets, and I'm talking about Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And every generation, because they move so slowly, that almost everybody that was born around the same time you were, within a year, sometimes even two, they have these planets in exactly the same place. So it's not uncommon. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if someone's Uranus conjunct your South Node, everybody around their age group, their Uranus makes a conjunction with your South Node. It's generational. So when we are looking at these outer planets, the orbs need to be really tight. 1 degree is enough to really see it in action. Because, like I said, everybody that's the same age as your person has that same aspect with you. Okay, but let's look closer at these outer planets because they are so interesting and so dynamic and so fun. And just remember the orbs need to be really little, like 1 degree at the most two with these aspects. So my cat has decided to join us, and she and I have great synastry together. That's okay. She may be wandering around in the background or across in front of the camera. Okay, so when it comes to Uranus with this South Node, this can be like so exciting. You just feel this excitement, this vibe, like you can't stay away from this person. It's a fun aspect to have, but it could indicate a relationship that's not traditional. And that happens a lot nowadays, but a lot of times Uranus is involved in these relationships, or it could have meant that it was not traditional in another lifetime, in a past life that you have with this person. But either way, it's very exciting, but it can be unpredictable and it can also be a bit unstable. So it could also be a relationship that starts really quickly, but guess what? It could end really quickly too. There could also be a feeling with this that it's the two of you against the world, like you are in rebellion against everybody else. It's the great it's a great impetus to break free from old patterns if you allow yourself to go that direction. And it's also a great aspect to really grow into your authentic self. But it's an interesting one. And one more thing, this could also indicate that this is a long distance relationship that is up and down. You see each other sometimes and you don't see each other sometimes. And that's not always a bad thing. And sometimes people with heavy Uranus in their chart prefer it that way. They'd rather have a relationship where there's a little bit more freedom involved. And so that's the Uranian way, right? So let's look at Neptune. Oh my gosh, here comes the magic again. Neptune can feel like this spiritual soul connection with someone else, like you've never felt anything like that before. It can bring this deep compassion and empathy to a relationship. You feel understood, you feel connected on a soul level, and probably you were in a past life connected on a soul level. But sometimes the feelings don't actually equal reality. And this is what you have to look out for because sometimes illusion creeps in or deception creeps in. And you really have to figure out, is this real? Am I feeling this because this is what I felt in a past life and it's really what's going on now, this deep connection with another person. And sometimes it's very real, but other times it's a bit of an illusion. So you really need to work with the other person, really dedicate yourself to working with the other person to make sure you keep it real. Because I think if you keep things on a realistic level, even though you feel so spiritual, that it's the key to making this South Node Neptune connection work. Okay, so when the South Node and Pluto come together, can you say intense, almost obsessive? This connection feels so faded and so strong that this is one of the connections I feel like on a personal level is very hard to break. Even if it gets to that Plutonian point where there's no longer transformation, but jealousy and obsession and control. And it can get to that point because more than likely the two of you have had many lifetimes together. There needs to be a very deep dedication to growth, to not falling back into the same patterns. Now, I say this about all of the planets because we need to grow, not fall back into old patterns. But this one especially, there needs to be transformation. Pluto will burn it down and raise it up like the phoenix, but that is so painful. The easiest thing to do with this, with that strong, deep connection where you feel like the other person knows you so well, they know your soul, they know your thoughts. You may be able to even read each other's thoughts with this South Node Pluto aspect. But the important thing is true transformation and growth, being dedicated to each other enough to see old patterns of control or obsession or power because Pluto brings all of those things with it. But it's this deep psychological intimacy that is so compelling. It is truly a hard one to break if you have this aspect. So, what if your south nodes are conjunct? Your south node and your north node are exactly the same place, they're conjunct each other. A lot of times, this means that you were born around the same time. And it's that simple. But you do feel this kinship, like you're on the same soul path. And I see this a lot in relationships when someone is older than the other person and their nodes come together like that. And it's really beautiful because like I said, not you don't you feel the past relationship, but you also feel like you can move forward because your north nodes are conjunct as well. This one is really important. Not only does it feel fated, I think there's a high likelihood of staying with this person because you feel so much like you're on the same soul path that they are. So let's flip it. Let's say the south node conjuncts the other person's north node, and the nodes are flipped. I think this is also highly fated, like you are on the same soul path. But in this case, and I actually like this one, I think there is this real capacity to teach each other how to get to your north node because your south node conjuncts their north node. You already know what it's like to be there. So you can teach this other person how to reach their north node. This one is really interesting, and I think most of the time that this can work in relationships if you're willing to be teachable and learn from each other and grow with each other instead of being having a know-it-all attitude coming from that south node. I already know. Of course you do. But what you need to do is to gently teach your partner how to reach their north node and let them teach you how to reach your north node. And finally, what about the south node with the vertex? Can you say fated? Can you say meant to be? This, more than almost any other south node aspects, feels like you are destined to be together. More than likely, there's been many past lives together. The souls have connected together over so many past lives because the vertex is a fated point in our chart. And when it's activated, we feel like this is fate, this is meant to be. And when it's someone's south node, it probably was in a past life. And the two of you may feel like you have a purpose or a mission in this lifetime together. And you may. This one feels so destined and meant to be. I just think that you have to be aware that as fated as it feels, you're still in this human body and your souls may feel connected, but just remember to dedicate yourself to growth and maybe to the mission that you're on together, because probably you were on a mission in another lifetime. I have heard this aspect called the twin flame aspect, that the fated point of the vertex with the south node coming in, that there was a mission in another life and you're here to complete a mission in this life together. So I don't really want to get into the twin flame thing because that's not what this video is about, but I have heard this aspect called that. So I hope everyone has enjoyed this video on the south node. It is so compelling. It is so life-changing. And we all end up having a south node relationship at some point, whether it's romantic or not, where we just feel that deja vu moment. Oh, I know you. Or you look into their eyes. I know your soul. If you want to find out more, like I said, you can book a reading with me. You can find my information in the notes below or go to soulnavigation.com. And I'll see you soon. Bye from Florida.